Welcome to Royally Unfiltered, the show that takes you behind palace gates like never before. This is where tradition meets truth and nothing is off limits. This week, helping me tackle all the biggest headlines are royal authors and commentators, Duncan Larcombe and Jenny Bond. Jenny, I just got one of your books. I'm so excited to read it. I found it online. So thank you both for being here. Let's start out with this very sweet visit. Prince William made to a hospital where initially I didn't realize the Princess of Wales, Catherine, was born at. First of all, Jenny, I'd say, was that intentional to go to that hospital where Catherine was born? And can you talk to me a little bit about what the objective was for that visit?
I think it was coincidental, really, that Catherine was born there. It was more the care given to COVID patients, and perhaps the fact that the first patient to die in the UK died at that hospital. So this was a big thank you to William, from William, to all the workers who saw us through the pandemic and whose work has continued. And he was supporting a charity there that is helping those who are suffering, particularly from long COVID, actually, as well. But I just think every visit that William or Catherine now make to a hospital, to health workers, just carries an extra punch because of the year they've been through. So it was very moving.
It was absolutely. Duncan, it's nice to see Prince William so often lately. I think that I didn't realize I missed him in 2024 because of he was, at the time, we didn't know it. For the first 3 or 4 months, we had no idea what was going on behind the scenes. But in comparison to last year, I'm seeing him quite often right now. Does he like being out on the scene? Does he really love this work and engaging with people?
Well, I think you're quite right. His priority last year, and I think there's something quite poignant about it, frankly. When his wife was diagnosed with cancer, he was putting her first and the children first above everything. But, he's good on the road, and Jenny will know this as well. When William meets members of the public, he makes them feel incredibly special. And, now he's such a senior member of the royal family, the heir to the throne after his father. I think the more the royal family can roll William out, the better it is for them.
Jenny, do you agree that he's kind of a superstar right now?
Yes, he's outshone only by Catherine, his wife, I think, but he is a star. He's a good-looking guy, and his beard seems to be going down a storm. Everyone loves it. But he feels, and he said, doesn't it, that basically, what is the point of me? What is the point of my existing, of my role, if I don't get out and try to make a difference? I may not succeed, but I'm going to give it my best shot. And that's what he's doing with campaigns, as you know, all over the place. In this instance, he was simply, I say, supporting the health service, which needs all the help it can get, and saying a big thank you. But yeah, we've seen a lot of him. He's working hard. He doesn't have to. Princes of Wales in the past have done absolutely nothing, really, but he has chosen to take this role on as fully as he possibly can, given his family commitments at the moment.
And I don't think enough about long COVID, but it really is such a horrific experience. So, that when anyone in the royal family does remind you of something that you realize you need to sit there and digest, I always think that that's a blessing. This is a very shallow question to ask you, Duncan, but one of my favorite Duncan Williams stories is about the beard comment he made to you. So could you just refresh us about Prince William and his beard?
So that Jenny mentioned my beard. Well, she didn't mention it. Yeah, when I was in, just after they got married, actually, William complimented me on my beard, which wasn't anywhere near as grey as it is now. But I said I was copying him because he grew a beard briefly when he was doing work experience, if you like, with the Royal Navy. So I'm claiming that as my own. I'm his influence.
That's so funny. I'm sure that that's the situation. Jenny, I thought that there was a really interesting, very, very good piece in the New York Times about King Charles. It was called King Charles III, A Quiet Diplomat is Stepping Up. And it was, first of all, talk about a life of service. If you think about how busy King Charles has been over the last 2 weeks, I know there wasn't much effort that went into the letter that Keir Starmer handed Donald Trump, but I felt like it reverberated all over the world. The giddiness that Donald Trump felt from the personal invitation from the UK government and the King to come visit and for that private meeting. Of course, there was a shift in tone almost within 24 hours after Zelensky met with Donald Trump at the White House. And then, as if to soften the chaos, we see Zelensky meet with the King, and then Prime Minister Justin Trudeau meet with the King when we've got these tariff wars going on between Canada and the United States of America. It feels like the King is busy keeping peace on top of trying to seek treatment for his cancer diagnosis. There was a comment made by some people in this article about how the King needed to be careful and he needed to kind of tiptoe around this. What are your thoughts on the King's activity over the last few weeks? And are you impressed by them? Do you agree with them? Or do you agree that perhaps he has to be careful moving forward?
Oh, there's no doubt that he does have to be careful. The monarch is and must remain above politics, but the monarch also is and must be the ultimate diplomat, really. People sometimes sort of say, well, soft power, I don't really understand. What do you mean by soft power? Well, this is it in action. You know, that flourish with which Keir Starmer presented Trump with Britain's Trump card, i.e. a state visit, an unprecedented second state visit. And that was a political move. As you say, it wasn't from the palace, but the monarch has to do his government's bidding, whatever denomination, whatever political party that government is. And this is what Charles is doing. I'm sure that when he entertains President Trump at Windsor Castle, I don't know, I reckon that walking the diplomatic tightrope, as Charles will be, you know, we might see a bit more of fidgeting with the cufflinks. It's not going to be easy for him. But then meeting Zelensky, as he did a couple of days later, at Sandringham, at his home, not a palace, well, you can call it Sandringham House, and very sort of cozy atmosphere, and stayed a whole hour there. Again, this is the exercise of soft power. It was a demonstration of his support, Britain's support for Ukraine. And similarly, meeting Trudeau was the King of Canada's clear support for Canada.
Wow. Duncan, do you ever see the King distancing himself from President Trump in any way? Because I always felt like Queen Elizabeth was so gracious and kind to him, despite, what was it? I think it was 10,000 protesters in the UK when he visited, I believe. And I think it was £90,000 or some ridiculous price when it came to the cost of security. I can't remember the exact cost, but I remember thinking, I'll never see that in my lifetime. Do you ever think that the King would do anything that would make it look like he was distancing himself from Donald Trump, President Trump? Because I feel like the president would take it incredibly personally.
Yes, I mean, we've got to remember, okay, we have a king, but he's not an individual that makes decisions based on his own whims or fancies. You know, this is a king that will take in terms of diplomacy, will take his cue from the British government. And if Keir Starmer's government tells him he has to meet President Trump, well, then he has to meet President Trump. I mean, we saw Keir Starmer hand over the letter, for example, in the White House. Well, that wouldn't have been King Charles saying, "Oh, give him a letter from me." That's very much part of foreign policy for the British government, and his private thoughts, his private views, will remain exactly that. We will not know what he thinks of Trump. We could perhaps hazard a guess, but I think, you know, we have to remember that what the King does in diplomatic circles it's nothing to do with him. Frankly, he's just the figurehead.
It is funny though, because President Trump makes no secret of fawning over the British royal family. He absolutely, it's a fangirl moment almost. He absolutely adores at least the association when it comes to the British royal family. So it's fun to watch that here in the States.
But Kinsey, I mean, it wasn't that many years ago that King Charles, who was Prince of Wales, actually likened the actions of Putin to the actions of Hitler, and that was overheard and reported. I mean, it wasn't a statement that he made, but these are difficult diplomatic times.
Yeah.
And whether he likes it or not, King Charles will have to just swallow it and go with the flow.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the first time, is it? If you think back, Putin himself was here on a state visit in 2003, and we had Emperor Hirohito. That wasn't an easy one. Mugabe, that was pretty tricky. These visits come up from time to time, and they're all difficult for the monarch.
Well, I think it says a lot about their character, that they just push through and they get the job done no matter what. I think that reflects well on them. Okay, so Jenny, I know that you and I have had a brief discussion off air about this, so I'm ready to hear your thoughts. One of the headlines that started circulating this week about Meghan Markle's new TV show on Netflix is Meghan Markle is less Martha Stewart, more Maria Antoinette, and her new Out of Touch Netflix show with Love Meghan. This is from Decider.com, which regularly they review television shows. It's not a typical royal commentary website. You said that you didn't mind it, is what I interpreted. Is that the correct reaction, that you didn't mind the show?
I didn't mind it at all. In fact, I find it rather pleasant, very, very gentle, nice wallpaper. It was pretty. It really annoys me when people have commented after, well, the pylon of criticisms annoyed me. But people said, well, where was the substance? Where was the substance? This is a lifestyle show. It's frilly, it's frothy, it's pleasant. Oh, it's like sitting there having honey dribble in your mouth. I mean, what do you expect? What kind of substance? And I was pleasantly surprised. I watched it because I was doing a radio interview about it immediately afterwards. I've only watched the first one. And I thought, well, this is quite interesting. I even picked up one or two little tips, It was interesting to watch Meghan making candles, which she hadn't done before. I thought it was most interesting. You have bath bombs, and if you put a bath bomb in, you get all that stuff that comes out of it, all the flowery bits and everything gets stuck down your plug hole, and you've got to clean the bath. Well, she decided to put all those bits and pieces in a little bag, little tea bag with a ribbon, and put that in your bath. That's quite clever, isn't it? So I don't understand why everyone in the media seems to have decided to say it's absolutely the worst thing ever on television. I thought it was quite charming. Good on her.
You spent a lot more time than most people with Princess Diana, which of course I'm very, very envious of. Can you imagine Diana doing something like this, or is this not necessarily the path she would have gone down?
No, I don't think Diana would have done anything like this. Not because it was beneath her, but because she had different. She did have rather more serious ideas and campaigns, perhaps. But this is what Meghan Markle, as she was good at before she met Harry. I mean, she was an influencer. She was a stylist or a lifestyle guru. She was doing very well, and she's gone back, as she says, to her roots. Why are we knocking her? Why are people making all these unpleasant headlines and knocking her? I just think, I think it's become quite cruel.
What about Fergie? Because Fergie's kind of spent time in that space. Could you see her doing something similar?
Oh yeah, I think I could. Yeah, absolutely. She has spent time in that space. She is a rather frothier character than perhaps Diana was in as Diana grew up. I mean, I went to Angola with Diana, and she really enjoyed the fact. Well, enjoys a difficult world, but she got right into the facts of that very, very difficult trip. She wanted to make a difference in a completely different field. But I just think Meghan has shown that she is good at what she's doing, and we should say, well, you just get on with it. If you don't like Meghan, don't watch it. If you don't want to know any lifestyle tips, go and watch something else.
There are plenty of other options on Netflix. Duncan, I have a very hard time visualizing you on a sofa. sitting through With Love, Meghan. So be honest with me. Did you do this? Did you watch With Love, Meghan?
I respect Jenny Bond. I could barely disagree with her more. I mean, the reason that Meghan has got this show is because she sat down on a sofa and accused the British royal family of racism and then followed up with a whole load of truth bombs. She's there puffing around about love and kindness and friendship and family, and yet she's estranged from everybody in her family apart from her mother. And since Harry has married her, he is now estranged from everybody in his family. I mean, come on. Nobody needs to know tips about making beeswax candles or pretty average looking cakes and a cup of tea from Meghan. This is just brand Meghan. It's what she's been after. She's wanted to be famous all her life, and now it's finally come along, and she's just milking it. And I best respect to Jenny Bond. Obviously, you have your opinions, and you know you're welcome to them, but absolutely nonsense. What a stomach bile enduring load of nonsense her shows are. They are awful.
I do appreciate the fact that you were so generous to Jenny, because that could have gotten ugly, but you did continuously remind us that she is a rock star. So I want to say thank you for that. Now, Jenny, do you feel at all like this was a PR exercise and the objective was to discredit some of the rumors that have circulated, starting with the Telegraph's Valentine Lowe piece about bullying allegations that premiered right before the Oprah Winfrey interview, and then most recently in September, we had the Hollywood Reporter article that interviewed 12 employees, past and present, of Harry and Meghan. And in the Vanity Fair piece that was in January, they mentioned some unflattering stories as well. If you were sitting in a room with her and a publicist, can you imagine that a discussion that might take place is, let's reintroduce you, let's tell the people who you are, and that this might be a way to do that?
No, I think if I was sitting with her, I'd say, gosh, you've got this great Netflix contract. You've got to fulfill it. What are you good at? Oh, that's what you're good at. Yeah, why don't we do that? Make some money, which is the prime objective, and see how it goes down. And that's what she's doing. She's earning her living. They left here to become financially independent. So she needs to do something, and she's doing it. She's doing it, in my humble opinion, really rather sweetly.
Oh, Jenny Bond. Jenny Bond came today with her boxing gloves, but also hugs. And I really appreciate that about her. Duncan, talk to me about the idea of changing public perception. It doesn't sound like from what you've seen, if you were not a Meghan Markle fan before, this would change your mind.
Well, look, I mean, I'm coming from this from the angle of somebody who got to know Prince Harry over the years. And we've talked about this before, Kinsey. I mean, you know, what does Meghan think she's trying to do? What is she trying to achieve? She's just trying to make herself famous and milk that fame. And you heard her I heard her in that series actually correcting somebody, saying, no, I'm not Meghan Markle, I'm the Duchess of Sussex. It's vulgar. It's manipulative, it's unnecessary, and I'm not surprised that it's being absolutely panned by the critics, because frankly, if I need to know how to make a cake, I'll ask my 12-year-old daughter, who's cooked far better cakes than the looks of Meghan's one, in her home economics class at school.
Jenny, I have to ask you about that moment between Meghan Markle and Mindy Kaling, where Mindy is super funny and super sweet. And she said, people won't believe that Meghan Markle ate Jack in the Box or loved Jack in the Box, something to that effect. And Meghan replies, so funny you should say that. I'm Meghan Sussex now. Can you talk to me about protocol, which I think we could all agree Harry and Meghan have thrown out the window in some way, shape, or form. But is Meghan Markle's last name, as a member of the British royal family, Meghan Sussex, or is it a title that evolves? Because it's my understanding that Princess Diana was the Princess of Wales. Technically, Queen Camilla at one point was the Princess of Wales, even though she opted not to utilize that. Now Catherine is the Princess of Wales. I was under the impression that titles evolved. And on Archie and Lily's birth certificate, their last name was initially Mountbatten Windsor. Is Meghan making a choice to adopt this as her last name? And that's a choice, or does protocol dictate that she is Meghan Sussex? Do you know? Is that a relevant question based on the circumstance?
Yes, I think it is. It was rather pointed the way she did. She bridled a bit, didn't she, when she was called Meghan Markle? And I think it would have been much kinder. And I do slightly criticise her for this, in that I think she could have just said, "Oh, hang on, let's stop the filming. Oh, Mindy, actually, my surname's Sussex." I thought, she could have done that. That would have been a better way of doing it. However, having said that, it's quite complicated, really. If you think. Yes, Diana wasn't known as Diana Wales, but she was the Princess of Wales, and similarly Camilla, similarly Catherine. But the children, I mean, George and Charlotte and Louis were, first of all, Cambridge, because they were the Duchess of Cambridge. So it was George Cambridge. Now it's Wales. At school they're known as Wales, George Wales, Charlotte Wales. As for I know. And of course, in the military, it was Harry. Harry was known as Captain Wales, and similarly, William had the surname Wales. But the correct surname, or the one on the birth certificate, is Mountbatten Windsor. You can see it is quite complicated. Yes. It's a matter of choice, really. And yet, you think of Duchess of Edinburgh, Sophie. We've called her for years because she was the Duchess of Sussex, Countess of Sussex. We called her Sophie Wessex.
Yes.
So, you pays your money, you takes your choice. She's done absolutely nothing wrong by saying that she wants to be known as Sussex. And I can get it. Some women like to take on their husband's name and their children to have the same name. I don't get it. I'm a feminist. Actually, I thought Meghan was too.
Me too, Jenny Bond. Me too.
Yeah, I mean, why change your name? My husband's name isn't Bond. If it was, he'd be James Bond. But he's actually...
He should
have
changed his last name when he married you.
I gave him the choice, but I wasn't going to change mine. Why should you? However, she's perfectly within her rights to say that the family name is Sussex.
Okay, Duncan, I want to ask you something about something Richard Eden claimed just today. He said that his palace insiders commented that Meghan, that scene being left in the final series, because Meghan is the executive producer, was clearly a warning shot. Richard Eden says, one palace source told me, confirming that Meghan seemed to be making a very public point of emphasizing how much the title meant to her and by implication to Harry. Do you have a response to that?
Yeah, well, I do. And Jenny would have to agree with me on this, whether she likes it or not. The last thing you'll ever find a member of the royal family do is to actually correct a member of the public or somebody that they're on air with. I mean, Prince William, back in the day, I said, what do I call you? And I had a Jack Wills, it's a designer, cheap designer top on, that said Wills on it. He said, well, you can call me that, it's on your shirt. They take this with modesty. They don't use it as weapons. They don't use it as, oh, I've got to take you to one side here and say, look, actually, I'm the Duchess of Sussex. It's vulgar. It's unpleasant. And frankly, I think Meghan, she'll always be Meghan Markle in my eyes. I don't, the title that was bequeathed on her by the Queen and her husband, I mean, I don't think she deserves it. And I frankly wish that I wish that the royal family would strip her of that title, because she's cashing in on it, and it's disgusting.
There is actually one member of the royal family who will correct you, or corrected me in public, and that was Prince Andrew.
I was going to say, is it Andrew?
Oh, really? Yeah.
At the Windsor Castle fire, when I asked him, "Oh, how's your mother doing? How is she?" He looked very affronted and said, "Her Majesty the Queen." Blah, 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 blah. So some members of the royal family will, but I do agree, and I already made the point. But I think it was clumsy and unnecessary to make that correction. She didn't say Duchess; she just said Sussex.
Jenny and I guess Duncan too, you both have been in the industry for so long and worked, I imagine, on the print side of things at one point or another. You have noticed how print media continues to call the Princess of Wales, Catherine, Kate Middleton. I know it drives people crazy that, there's this, they want the respect that they believe Catherine deserves as the future queen to be called Catherine, Princess of Wales. Uh, can you talk to me about I guess, the protocol that goes into, to me, it feels like digital archiving. I feel like they still refer to Catherine as Kate Middleton and Meghan as Meghan Markle because of this digital catalog. They're trying to ensure that if they write a new article about Meghan Markle or Meghan Sussex today, it's going to link to the same content that they wrote 10 years ago about the woman that was on Suits. I don't think it's a lack of respect. I feel like it's just a way that we catalog things digitally. And I say this stressed and strained because I see a lot of the comments where people are angry that the word Kate Middleton is written somewhere. Am I agree or disagree is what I guess what I'm asking.
Catherine was known to everybody as Kate almost all of her sort of childhood, all the way through school and university. She was always called Kate. When she married Prince William in 2011, suddenly it was Catherine, and all the officials were told, right, I only refer to her as Catherine. That's fine. Kate's short for Catherine. I don't think there's anything other than common sense with that, really. In terms of Meghan,
excuse me, I know someone who was at school with Catherine who said she was always known as Catherine.
I've actually heard that too, that she was always, so I've just been like, I'm going to call her Catherine because she's asked that we call her Catherine, but that's
okay. I'll bow to both of you and say some people knew her as Catherine, but she was certainly known as Kate. Certainly known as Kate.
By some people.
Yeah. Before I wrap up this conversation about, kind of humility or not correcting people, reminded me of the video it came out last week, Jenny, of Muhammad, a little boy, asking Prince William, "Are you the king?" And Prince William quickly says, "I'm his son." I don't know. Did you see that? And if so, did you have a reaction to it? Because that to me is, I thought that was so sweet. It told me that Prince William is humble and kind. And I loved the way that he not only elevated his father in that moment and respected his father in that moment, but I just also loved the way that he referred to himself as his son, and you felt, a family, a tight little bond.
Yeah, I think he's showing himself to be more and more, shall we use that awful word, relatable. I think he is connecting with people in an informal and lovely way. And I think, after all they've been through, there's a huge amount of affection for the prince. And wherever he goes, and he's great with children, actually. He really is. You can see he's a dad when he's interacting with kids. You really can. So, yeah, that was a very charming moment.
All right. Well, Duncan, did you have anything to add before I say goodbye?
No, I totally agree with Jenny on that. Yeah, William's ability with children didn't just stem from him being a father. He's always been great, as Jenny knows. Jenny knows and has covered him way back. So, yeah, no, nothing to add.
All right, perfect. Agree with us, disagree with us, let us know in the comments below. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. Jenny Bond, can't wait to break into your book. Thank you very much for being so talented. And Duncan, I absolutely adore you and can't wait to see you again, Duncan Larcombe. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you again next time.